We're here at ECO Event 2023 in Paris with Christopher Mellon. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Mellon, at UAP Education. Christopher Mellon is a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence in the USA during the Clinton and George Bush administrations. He has been pushing a lot recently and is a leading role in alerting press and public about the topic of UAP. So, Mr. Mellon, some questions for you. The first is that, well, the European public really needs to catch up with what's going on to disclose the reality of non-human intelligence and UFO reverse engineer programs. Could you explain what's so game-changing about the Schumer Amendment and what could be the outcomes realistically if it finally becomes law?
Okay, so the Schumer Amendment is presently in a conference between the House and the Senate. It may be changed. It could be deleted. Hopefully it will pass. If it does pass, it has two main components. One of them is to establish a presidential commission, and it requires all government agencies to give that commission all of their records, regardless of the level of classification. And that commission will independently review them and recommend to the president whether there should be additional declassification and what records should be made available to the public. The other component, which is somewhat controversial, is a provision that says if we have recovered any alien technology, it belongs to the government. If it's in the hands of a private corporation, it doesn't belong to them. The government owns it. And I think that provision is perhaps unnecessary. I don't know how a private corporation could legally or lawfully obtain ownership of these materials, because in our system, the government cannot preferentially treat certain corporations. If they're offering something for sale, they have to offer it to all the companies. They can't just cut a private deal with one company. So anyway, it will take a long time if the legislation is passed to get people appointed to the commission and then the documents being gathered and then reviewing the documents. So it won't be an overnight change, but depending on what they find, it could be a profound change.
Okay, let's hope that it passes.
I hope so.
Well, we are European-based, as you know, UAP Education. The main goal of our idea is to gather more and more people from the scientific panel to remove stigma around the topic. And do you have any suggestion how to raise public and institutional awareness in Europe, especially? I mean, are you aware of any effort to try to work with international partners and institutional in Europe?
Our government has been, Congress is expecting our government to begin to collaborate with other nations. And hopefully that will help but at this point, there's not really much going on that I'm aware of. There are more private organizations like yourself and others, and I think that helps. You have in Europe a very highly educated population, and they're understandably skeptical about this. And I think the process, we need to just get more information out and help people understand how credible this is and what the data is. That's why our Congress took action. Because when they actually sat down with the pilots and actually started seeing the videotapes, they realized it was something serious. So it's really a matter of getting people the information. And most people, if they see the objective information, will say, wow, that's something we need to look into.
And do you see that there is any European government more ready to do this than others?
Well, France has had an effort for many years. So I would say they're in the forefront. And they've got incredible expertise in radar and scientists, and they're doing some great work right now. So I would say France is the foremost in this topic.
We agree, And okay, different topic. We've recently seen videos of Chinese fighters released by the US government, and there seems to be a peculiar double standard there. Why can't we see these types of videos without fear of revealing censors and methods, But we can see a similar video of some of the UAP that are being analyzed by Aero, for instance.
Right. So hopefully that's going to change, and it should change. And you're right, there are other videos that should be released. So I got 3 unclassified videos of UAP from F-18 fighters, and I used those with the New York Times, and I used them with the Washington Post subsequently. There was an investigation of that incident, and the government confirmed no damage to national security. After that happened, when they started the UAP task force, they created a new classification guide, and they just changed the standards, and they suddenly said everything UAP has to be classified. That's not legal. That's not consistent with the law. The executive order from the president says you have to explain how something could damage national security if you're going to classify it. And I don't think there's any credible way, after they said these other videotapes were unclassified. Obviously, it helped national security because it helped raise awareness about a problem we were having that wasn't being addressed. So at the time, I remember they were doing this, and I was arguing with the person working on the classification guide, actually saying, you're going too far here. It's better for the public to know more. The good news is that I understand from the Aero office and Dr. Kirkpatrick that they also share this view to some degree, and they are trying to change that classification guide so they can release more information. So hopefully in the not too distant future, more of those videos will become available.
Okay, so what's your opinion on Aero right now? I mean, what are they doing a good job according to you? Where are they going according to what you know?
Yeah, so they've made a lot of progress. We now have reporting mechanisms we didn't have. Data is coming in. It's being placed in databases. They're interviewing people. However, I have a different point of view than Dr. Kirkpatrick on some issues. He says there's no credible evidence of craft doing things that defy science, physics as we understand it. That implies that the pilots and radar operators and technicians from the Nimitz are not credible. Yeah. Of course they're credible. So they're extremely credible. And we even have video. So I have a different point of view on that. If those people were not credible, why are we asking them to report this information to begin with? Right? I mean, of course, so I have a different point of view. I also think he's made a mistake to the degree to which he's pressing so hard to tamp down any possibility of anything extraterrestrial. He's supposed to be investigating that right now. And it's as though he's announced his conclusions before he's completed the investigation. And so that has turned a lot of people off. A lot of people don't trust them. People are not going to Aero now because they don't trust Aero. And so my view is that if Congress wants to really get to the bottom of the issue of whether or not there's recovered technology, the Congress needs to do that investigation itself. That's not something it can delegate to the executive branch and expect them to investigate themselves and then reveal this.
Clear. Thank you so much, Mr. Mellon.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.